everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast Rolling Stone magazine describes as one that initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are all sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your entire business code TVPod at darkfusionsystems.com. Links to the podcast below. Let's go to our feature presentation. Come back to the podcast for a second time is Mattie from the German band Blacktoothed. They have a brand new called Headway coming out on January 24th, 2025. We not only talk about how life has been different for Mattie since her last time on the podcast in 2022 when the band released JULI. We also talk about where the inspiration for the album came from, why they have released so much of this as singles, as a band that is still on the rise, and with the songs that aren't singles, which are the ones that we think you should check out. Well, it's going to be all of them, but like which ones are specifically the ones where like you must go check this out and why. You ready? Let's do this. Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. You know, over almost 6 years now, we've been bringing on artists from all over the world. Not only artists that have been on here once, but also twice, 3 times, 4 times. And we always love to see returning artists come back to the podcast like we have for you today. We last had this artist back on the podcast in 2022 with the release of their album, JULI. And now they're going to be releasing their third album, Headway, on January 4th, 2025 via Rising Empire Records. And also, when I say a Rising Empire, you know it's going to be good quality whenever I talk to a band from that label. And it makes sense because, hey, this band's coming back on the podcast for a second time. So please welcome Mattie from the band Blacktoothed to the podcast. So Mattie, welcome back.
Hey, y'all, and thanks for having me again.
It's a
also,
pleasure.
if it's just me today. I know last time we were like me and Henny. Now
yeah,
it's
Henny,
me. I hope I can do this on my own.
You'll do just fine. I know Henny was here too, and Henny's always, a big, laughable, fun guy. So
yeah,
it was a fun time. But now it's just the two of us. Now it's like we can get down to some serious business about probably something random and wacky wherever the conversation takes us. But it's been a couple of years. So how have you been the past couple of years? I just want to catch up with you first before we jump into this whole entire thing that is Headway and whatever Blacktooth's been up to.
Yep. Well, I think a lot of stuff has happened so far. With the last album, I think we were just kind of getting into the whole process of, having a label and doing it all like on a professional or a more professional level than before. And now we just kept on going with this one. It's getting more and more professional, I gotta say. We were on tour for the very first time, like a real tour with the Amity Affliction and Muir in summer, which was absolutely insane. We're about to hop on a few dates with Miss Maya and Cabal just about in 2 weeks. So yeah, it's been going good.
So that's definitely a huge shift from the last time where it's kind of, getting your feet wet or getting used to just the process of being under a label and being in more of that professional setting with this. And now you already have JULI under your belt. You have all of that experience from there. So going into Headway, you have more of this comfortability with the process of how these things are going to work. And not only that, but going out on tour as well, on a full-fledged tour with Amity Affliction and Amir, traveling all over Europe. So now you're getting all these other experiences over the past couple of years with JULI being out as a band under your belt. So going forward, it's going to be a lot easier and a lot more, I'm going to say normal to go through these things, because you're not going to be just completely brand new to it and like a little kid just maybe walking around like, where's my mom? I don't know. And just lost all over the place. It's like, no, I'm confident. I know what I'm going to be here for. I'm going in. I'm going to get my candy. I'm going to be enjoying the show. I'm going to play the show. It's going to be great. And then we're going to get in the bus and go to sleep, and we're going to wake up in a completely different city.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is insane. But also like exactly the kind of argument I had like 10 minutes ago with my kid. Because she was like, nah, you have to get me to bed. I was like, nah, not today. I'm not. She was not happy about that.
What did I say? Because I had to pull the little kid thing in there because I know we were talking about your kid right before we started this. Yeah. But it's just kind of funny too to add to it where, not only that, but, being a full-fledged artist, being out on tour, it's got to be a little bit different too, especially starting to get used to that, especially having a family as well.
Absolutely, it is. we had a kid, like, she's 5 now,
Okay.
so even with Julie, but it was different then. I don't know. For some reason, when they're small, it's so much easier to say, "Hey, you're gonna stay with grandma today for the next week," and now she's all like, "Nah, I don't wanna." So yeah, I mean, I get why lots of bands like our size don't have families, because it is stressy, and especially because my husband, he's also in Blacktooth kind of unofficially, but he's doing all the management stuff. He's playing bass live because we don't have a bass player anymore. So this is really tough to, organize everything. Yeah, but it's absolutely worth it. I mean,
I mean, you're making the most out of it, and it's absolutely worth it to not only go after what you want, live that dream, and really achieve it, but continue to have a family and be able to grow in that way. Because as time goes on, as music goes on, we're going to get older. What we're going to be enjoying is not going to be the exact same thing as we enjoy right now. But having a family and being able to always go back to that is something that so many people have, so many people don't have, and so many people take for granted. And even at this stage of the game, where you are with your size as a band, it's not easy to have a family. And like you said,
no.
there are different aspects of it where when you have kids of a certain age, they kind of always want to be around you, or they don't always want to go by grandma's house, or especially going on tour with your husband being a part of it as well. It's a whole different aspect when it comes to the responsibility of your child. And that is why there's a lot of bands out there that don't have families. And it's because of that balance.
Yeah.
It's so hard to figure out that balance and not get so burnt out on it, or constantly feel like you're missing out on one thing because you're taking care of the other.
Yeah.
It's always dealing with that. And we've talked with so many other artists here on the podcast about that before. But especially when you're on tour, the Amity Affliction and Amir, with your husband being on tour, was there any of that initial pullback in your mind of maybe I should be spending more time at home because we have a kid?
Yeah, you're always feeling guilty that you're not home when you're not home. It's not gonna get better because we have stuff planned for like next year. Obviously, we started this whole touring thing now, and we can't get out of it anymore. So it's just gonna get worse. Yeah, thinking about time you spend away from your family. So yeah, instant guilt every time there's even an offer, and you have to think, could I be available for this tour? I don't know, but just right comes to your head, feeling guilty that you might not be there. Also, I have to find a job now because I'm just currently finishing my master's, and I this is gonna be so tough next year because I have to find a job, but knowing that I'm gonna be away here and there for a tour, so I have no idea how this is gonna go. Same with the family, but we'll figure something out, I guess.
That's the mindset you have to have going into it, though. We're going to end up figuring this out. We're going to make this work because, again, when it comes to Blacktooth, that's something that I know you're very passionate about. It's something that you really want to make work and continue to grow. And if you didn't want it to continue to grow, you wouldn't be on your third album. You wouldn't be going on touring cycles, and you wouldn't be fully immersed in that, as well as you wouldn't be fully immersed in trying to have a family, work on that, and also, get your master's during this time right now, but then add trying to find a job on top of it just to make sure you're continuing to make money and continue to support your family throughout that time. It's not going to be something easy, but at the same point in time, you are already recognizing that it's not going to be easy, and you can begin to process through that and work through that
absolutely.
So that you have that plan in place of, okay, what's it going to be like when we're on tour? What's it going to be like when we're not on tour? What's it going to be like maybe we're in the recording process versus not the recording process? What's life going to be like when other responsibilities and other obligations when it comes to your kid? Do you want to make sure that you're a part of those things? And when you are you going to be able to make those things? So it's a lot of planning, and it's a lot of it's going to be a lot of stress. I'm not going to lie, but at the same time,
it is.
You could probably talk to any musician or any parent that's out there, musician that is a parent. They're going through the same things. You can relate to them. You can work with them. You can ask them for advice as well that have gone through these things so that you can make the most out of this and make sure that you are putting all your effort that you can into all three of those aspects without getting to the end of the year feeling like you're so burnt out and you have to drop something.
Yeah, I thought there's a lot of similarity in having a family and being in a band for some reason. Like, it's so immensely stressful at certain points, but it's at the same time it's so rewarding that you can't stop. I mean, you have to keep going. It's also kind of your resource for so many things like making music. So yeah, you have to figure it out. There's just no other way.
Yeah, and another thing you can always do too is you can look to other artists or other examples of artists that have, had families or that have been more publicly known to have had families, and it's okay, how do they relate to these things? How they gone about when it comes to their kids, especially their kids growing up? Because as they get older, what's going to happen with them? Are they going to end up going on tour with you? Are they going to travel around with you? Are they going to be homeschooled, especially now in the age of the time that we live in the 2020s?
We cannot. In Germany, we cannot homeschool our kids.
Oh, so. You can't?
No.
That's something I did not know.
Yeah, no, you have to, they have to attend school, yeah.
But now that's another obstacle that comes in there as well. Yep. That's something I didn't know, but that's a different challenge you have to deal with. Yep. It's because your child have to be stuck in. They have not necessarily. I'm going to say stuck in Germany, but they have to be in Germany when they're going to school.
They're stuck.
Otherwise,
yeah.
So it's like maybe a summer tour. If they're able to go out on the road with you during the summer, that might work out a little bit more. I've known bands that have done more this focus on like the summer months when they have families, just to make sure that they're around during that time.
I mean, that sounds like the dream, bringing your kid on tour. Right now, we're at the point where she hates it. She wouldn't even attend a show if we played in our hometown.
What?
Yeah, she's like, nah. But it's basically because either me or my husband couldn't be around then during stage time, and I think she's kind of scared for that. To be somewhere in a club. And I think at 5 years of age, she can't just grasp that idea what she's going to do then. She also has no idea how concerts work in general, I guess.
I mean that makes sense, especially if you're on stage, even if your daughter is side stage watching you play, they're right there, but especially at that time, they really want that one-on-one attention. They really want to make sure that they're in constant contact with you at times, and it can be a little much. It can be stressful, but of course, we could be talking again in 5 years, literally revisit this, and you could be like, absolutely. I missed that time when that was like that. Now she's like this, and probably, I miss what it used to be. Or it's like I could talk about and ask you what it was like 5 years ago when she was first born. You could be missing things during that time,
absolutely,
but love things that there are right now. Like it's always that cycle of what I miss, what I enjoy, what I hope changes, and then you get to that point, it's like everything keeps moving down the line, but that's life.
Yeah, but also it's like if you figure out the positive aspects in the moment, that's probably the best.
Yeah, and it seems like that's what you're really doing right now, especially trying to figure this all out, especially with everything you're going to have going on, not only personally, but with the band in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, with 2025 brings a new record called Headway, which again comes out on January 24th. So there, of course, I told you I listened to the whole entire thing. So I've got all these notes on every single song. So I'm set to talk about anything around there. But really, when it came to the creation process for this album from inception to where you are now with it, right about to release it, what was that whole process like to get this thing going?
I think it's quite easy with us. The whole writing process is very easy because I mean, it already started during the JULI recordings that I started to basically write the whole songs. And that's what I'm doing, that's what I did with Headway. I just write complete songs. And when the guys hear it, they're done. Like, the songs are done. And they, like, in, let's say, 90% of the time, like, yeah, let's do this way. So, because with every song, I think I'm a bit more professional in terms of songwriting and stuff. Then we enter the studio, of course, and there we have like a lovely producer team. And they're gonna work on the songs as well. Sometimes they just stay absolutely the way they were. Sometimes they get flipped around like completely. I can tell you about some songs, I guess. Or I guess they say 2 songs on Headway that I can think of the top of my head right now. But and then it's done. So there's people involved, but mainly it's just I write a song and then that happens.
So really, when it comes down to this whole entire thing with Headway, I'm talking the mastermind behind the whole thing, and the other guys always like, they listen. It's like, okay, this is awesome. Maybe put some input here and there on it, expand the entire idea.
Exactly.
But again, it all depends upon what you're doing as a band and how you work as a band together. There are bands out there where everyone wants to be part of the writing process, the creative process. Yeah. And there's bands that maybe there's some people that just don't want to be a part of it at all because they're not as connected to it, but they love the passion, love the overall feeling of it. So being able to be the one that performs it and actually tracks it is something that is really appealing to them. But it all depends upon band chemistry too. So you found the way and you found the concoction that makes it work for Blacktoothed. So why try and force anything different, especially if someone else like a producer or a label says, oh, you have to do it this way. If you found, it's like, no, you got here. This is what worked for you to get here. They've signed you for that. They wanted you for this. So
yeah, absolutely. Also, I think I get Henry a lot. So because I also write all the lyrics, and most of the times it's like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, so I think that makes it a lot easier for him also to process his songs and sing them.
Now, especially if you're writing the lyrics and he's already feeling this stuff, that's a huge piece of chemistry that really works for both you and Henry as well. However, it seems like also at times, you could probably lift off Henry's like scalp and look at his brain. It's like, oh yeah, Mattie's got, the wire here, the wire there. So it's just being fed everything in there. And he already knows exactly what he's thinking. She knows what he's thinking. Bing, bang, boom. So when the lyrics come out, they're already, set up to be something that everyone between the two of you and that can connect to. But if the both of you can connect to it, now that's two people that are connecting to the same idea, to the same mindset. And when it comes to writing it down in the song and tracking it, when the audience like us get it, there's a higher chance that we are going to fully understand it because, again, that's where the creative process comes in. It's the chemistry that also shows that.
Yeah, obviously, that's a big plus. But also, we're all in it in the whole band thing for different reasons. Like for me, it's the songwriting. I love the creative part. After songwriting, I would be happy if we just had the album out. Unfortunately, you have to do music videos and all this stuff where I'm like, oh, I don't know, it's stressy. But yeah, we have to. Henny, or I know that Henny loves playing live, connect with audiences over the music and stuff. So I think maybe that's also part why I am still on the songwriting bit so much. And yeah, the rest just is happy to play along.
But again, that's how construction of a band goes, or like you said, how a band is similar to a family. You have those conversations, you have those ideas that you work off of together, and certain people have different interests, certain people have different strengths. So you maximize out on those and you see how you can put this all together to make it work to where you writing the songs, being that principal songwriter to everything that is Blacktoothed works because someone like Henry would much rather be out in front on stage performing, connecting with the audience, which is also an important piece of everything. At the same time, you're doing something that is equally as important. You're the one that's creating the actual songs that are going to be heard, the ones that we are going to connect to. So it's how that all intertwines. And again, like I said, every band's going to be different, but it all depends upon the people that are there, how it's going to work for those people in that band. Because not every band is going to follow along with everyone contributing on one aspect equally and the other aspect equally. It all depends upon how that balance works. Again, like we were talking about with, being in a family, being on the road, having a job. How are we going to balance out all this? It's just like dealing with the band as well. Someone's got to write songs. Someone's going to end up being more on the performance side. Someone's going to want to maybe do more of the production side or maybe more of the content side, wherever it is. But it all depends upon where's that balance going to come in there that's going to make this absolutely work. Because if you want to have everyone involved in it, that's fine. If that's the balance that works.
I know bands that do that and it works. So no judgment on anything. Different.
So when it came to Headway and really you said writing the lyrics on this, was there a very specific idea that you had, a very specific inspiration that you were going off of to write the lyrics for this album?
I think I like to focus on like interpersonal stuff. I'm not so much into the whole let's talk about society topics. I know other bands do, and I love that, and I love hearing songs about that. For me, it's mostly like process my own stuff that I'm dealing with, and I can't put into words probably, but can write songs about it, which makes it easier sometimes. So that's like the main idea of Headway, or behind Headway, to have that personal growth over the years. Also like getting to know yourself throughout life, basically knowing why you struggle sometimes, but also know your resources, what was good all these things.
See, I have to agree with that too, especially when you talk about how there are bands out there that love to speak about more of the societal issues or other larger issues that don't have that close personal connection as some of these other issues do. Like I think about my favorite band with Rise Against, they're always speaking about more political and social issues. And it absolutely hits. It absolutely makes sense. But then I'm wearing a We Came as Romans shirt, and their last record was all about them processing through the death of Kyle Pavone and how they got like to where they are and getting and you know working through all the trauma that. Now that's more of a personal take on it, and both can absolutely work. It all depends upon as an artist, what are you going to be the most connected with? If you end up getting inspiration to write a song about the German school system and having to not being able to homeschool your kid, that's fine. Go for it if that's what you're truly feeling. But if it's something where songwriting is that piece for you to allow you to open up to yourself, even go through certain things that are in your head, go through certain ideas that you want to work through and work through them so that you can listen through them, understand, much like we do with the other music that hits us in an emotional way and gets us in our personal own feelings. They do that because we connect with the overall musical styles. We connect with the progression of that song because it connects to an emotion. It allows us to tell that story, go back to a certain point in time where we are going through that again, but we can look at it in a different light. We can look at it in a different objective way and realize maybe things were not as bad as they were, or maybe I wasn't thinking about it in the right way, and process through that so that when it comes back again, it doesn't hit us as hard. It's like musical therapy right there when you understand it, whether it's on the writing side or on the listening side.
I mean, I gotta say, I love the whole last Beartooth record for that. You can really see how he's processing everything, and it's like, wow, I wish I could write a positive record like that someday.
Well, you might be able to. I mean, take a look at what Beartooth had to do to get to that, and Caleb Shulman had to do to get to that. You listen to the first 4 Beartooth records, and they're definitely talking about darker subject matter. They're heavier, they're angrier, they have this vindication behind them, especially in Caleb's voice. Then you listen to The Surface, and it's this is a lot different. It's a lot less. There's no bite. There's not a real bite to it. There's not that vindication behind it. And I didn't really care for it at first, but I listened to it more and more, and I thought this is really good because now we're starting to see the happiness behind it, and it's like we're not really seeing that positivity in metal as much as we could.
In music in general, right? Yeah, that's what I thought was so interesting. Like, wow, that's rare, and then you realize how rare it is because you hear it, and they're like, wow. One day.
Yeah, I mean, again, you might get to that point one day if you're continuing focusing in on more of the internal stuff and the personal side of things. What happens if, we go 5-10 years down the road, you get to Blacktooth's like 6th or 7th album, and when it comes to family, when it comes to family life, a lot of things are going really well. Things are going really well with your daughter, and the things are going really well with the band. Personally, you feel like a lot of things that maybe you were holding back or holding down to maybe just not have to go through things anymore, or just trying to protect yourself from. You've worked through a lot of those issues, and now internally you feel a lot better. You feel that positivity, and then you take that time and you put that positivity into practice because that's what you want to write about. Again, I would love to see what you could do with a positive record and with a positive idea, but it has to come from a place where you want to be writing that, not trying to force yourself to write it.
Absolutely. I gotta say, I'm already writing lots of new stuff. I think so far I have like 11 songs already. Album cycles never match or sync like with me personally and what's out in the open. But I feel like I'm getting more and more angry, honestly, with everything that's going around. So I think maybe the next Blacktooth record is probably gonna be a lot more angry than positive, but maybe I don't know. I mean, I'm still writing.
But again, that's the beauty of continuing to write. You're continuing to be able to work through these things, but also reflect on this personally and do it at every given time of your life. So you're having that timestamp at that point in time, and take a look at a lot of things that are going on in the world as well. And even personally, but you think about the world, there's multiple conflicts going on. There's a lot of political differences going on all across the world. So there's always this worry, and then economically, socially, financially, there's so many things that are just like going not in the best way.
Yeah, you're just waiting for that big crash someday.
yeah. So maybe you're waiting for that big crash to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what sector you're thinking of, you're waiting for it, and that anxiousness and that anger and that aggression and that energy is going to come out in your music, especially if you're thinking about in that capacity, and then it amplifies some of the things that you're maybe going off of when you're talking about personal items and processing through those, just because the outside influence that you're seeing on a daily basis from other entities, other people, is kind of pushing you a little bit towards that way. Can we break through that, and can we focus in on a positive record if that's what we're feeling? Absolutely. But it's like our environment also continues to influence where our mindset is and how much positive and negative we are. Because when the world's a positive place, people are generally more positive. When there's a lot of negativity going on, people are generally more negative. Well, and it's like there's a correlation between if you're going to be more positive, more negative. Now, it's not always going to be that way. You can possibly break through it just given on personal events, but in the majority, it does have a little bit of an influence.
Also, if you're having like a family and then you have this whole different level of involvement, and you just see society stuff like, oh gosh, it's just opening up a whole different dimension again. So yeah, lots of things, lots of issues you can process, I guess.
But yeah, but even having a family and going through it, you're seeing issues, not only in a personal life, but you're also seeing them from your kid's perspective, or trying to understand them from your child's perspective and what that's going to impact for their future. So especially if there's going to be things that are definitely trending towards the negative, you're going to feel that anxiousness and that anger and that aggressiveness towards it. So when you're writing a record and you're writing songs, that might be the way you're going to get some of that out there and not hold it back in. So it just kind of helps, especially even if you're going through personal things that also have that same kind of energy tied into it, to really focus in on a process, because now you're fully ingrained in the mindset. And why not explore that route if it's going to be there to present itself for you?
Absolutely. I mean, that's always going to happen with writing music, I guess.
It's always going to happen. One other question I have about Headway is, because I was working through it and listening through the album. And of course, by the time I was listening through it, out of the 9 songs on the record, 6 of them were already previously released as singles. Yeah, so it's like that's a lot. And I got to ask the question, what was the idea behind that, especially releasing more of the album as singles before the full release of it?
It is for very economic reasons, I would say. I mean, where you can get more out of a single than out of album songs that are just gonna be released at some point. I mean, we already know that we have, I think, 2 songs left that are not released. No, you said 6. Yeah, I mean 3. So when the album drops, it's gonna be 3 songs that were not released previously. It's just, that these songs are just there, and the people that love us are gonna listen to them. Outside of that, not so much. So it's really just to get your audience and to grow your audience like over the streaming platforms and stuff. So I'm already very tired. I think we are all kind of tired of releasing song after song after song, and it's never ending. And Novocaine and Carried Away, which was the first 2 singles we released, were already released like more than a year ago. So it feels like, oh, when is this gonna end? And like I said, even album cycles don't sync anymore with me, because I'm already working so much on a new record or songs. Let's put it like songs. It's just tiring. And we're happy when the album's going to be out. Looking forward to that. Not having to, build up for the next release. It's just, it's going to be fun.
I specifically wanted to ask that question because of how many times we've seen other bands do something similar like that, or we've seen metal fans say, oh, they're only releasing singles. What about the album? Or when the album comes out, it's, well, there's only like 2 or 3 new songs on there, released everything else as singles. We saw that happen in 2024 when Falling in Reverse released the Ronald album, or the Popular Monster album, and all but like 4 songs were already previously released over the course of 5 years. In Memphis May Fire's 2022 album, it was like 2 songs were not released as singles. And for their album coming out in 2025, the same exact thing is happening. And even I remember going back to like 2018, Breaking Benjamin, when they released their last record, they had 5 or 6 singles out. Now, again, this is 2018. This is, 6-7 years ago.
Wow.
And this is already happening. But it gives us as fans a different perspective of why artists are doing this instead of, are they just doing this because, they don't like albums anymore and they don't really care about the fans? No, it's not that. It's streaming has taken over so much. And
Absolutely.
if a band wants a hit on that album, the more singles you put out there, it does tend to end up being better because each of those singles get a release like, it's a brand new thing.
Yeah.
So when the album comes out, so when the album comes out, it's that album's going to get hit and focused on like it's a brand new thing, but it's all those songs put as a collective together. It's not like that. It's not like all those songs are going to be put out there and each of them are going to get an individual release following when the album's out there. Once the album's out there, it's out there. And there's no putting it back in the box.
And then after a month of, passing through all these playlists from Spotify, it's just like going to drop again. So if you have that over a month and month and month, that's looks better. I mean, it's not cool to say, but sometimes it's also just for the looks that you get on your band, like through a business perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really, looks a lot better if you have constantly over, 40K listeners on Spotify. Looks better than you have that one time, and then after a month it just dies out slowly. It's not for the music, it's just business.
Yeah, but again, that's something that especially us as fans, we need to hear this stuff. We need to understand this so we know what you as band members and what artists are going through and why this is happening the way it is. And it's a response to the way the business is right now. And like you brought up with Spotify monthly listeners, that makes a lot of sense because of how many times, especially when we talk about the meter, we talk about band sizes. And if bands, especially us as fans, when we have debates on, well, do they deserve this spot on this bill? Do they deserve this spot in the support? People always go to Spotify monthly listener accounts. So it has become such a metric that might not be the best metric to take, but it's something that people can quantify in the business and the music industry that they can use. So if you're going to have that massive flare up because you release a whole bunch of songs and then 1 month later, because you're being taken off of those playlists because there's always new stuff coming out every single day, you get dropped off of those. Now, the only people that are going to be there are the ones that are consistently sticking around. Getting new discovery is not going to be nearly as easy. So that count is going to end up dropping and it's going to bottom out. But if you show that consistency continuously, and if it's being helped by releasing a brand new song once a month, once every 2 months through a single, and being able to continuously have that flow of not only continued listeners, but getting on those playlists to be able to have new listeners come in, it adds so much more to a band's stock and a band's continued growth. People want to see consistency. They want to see that growth. It's a business. That's what they want to see. So you're playing the game the way the business is right now.
Absolutely. It's also sometimes it feels so random what singles are gonna end up on these playlists, what singles don't. Because again, it's some person that picks who's gonna be in that playlist. So if that's not your personal taste of music, then it's probably not. And sometimes you feel like, really, that single? But that's just the way it is. I think that's just the way we can consume music, including myself. I mean, I don't really listen to a whole album, rarely. I love when I hear a new single. Sometimes if I like the artist already, like you said, if you like the artist, then you're probably going to listen to an album. If not, you're happy if you catch a single too.
Yeah, and I even think about like the new albums from 2024. I'll use the Linkin Park album as a great reference. When it was they released their first 2 singles, it's like, yeah, I like Linkin Park. I wasn't necessarily sure where they were going to go with this, so I listened to the first single or 2. But then afterwards, like the album came out, From Zero dropped, and I didn't really listen to it at all. I didn't even care to go check it out because there's like, I got other albums I got to check out from either bands that I was going to bring on the podcast or bands that I really wanted to listen to and really wanted to check out. And even for bands that are that big, that have that much press behind them, that are like finally release something that you've been waiting for so many years. Yeah, if they would release more stuff as singles, maybe I would have checked out more of it. And that's coming from somebody who's supposed to be listening to all this stuff continuously.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much. It's just so much, the sheer volume of this stuff. There's so many bands are putting out albums and stuff. I don't even like putting out albums. I would be very happy just releasing songs here and there. And yeah, because also the costs and everything.
Yeah.
And you know that these 3 songs that we are going to release with the album are just going to be there.
Yeah.
Dying on Spotify somewhere.
I mean, I don't want to make it sound like, these songs are just like filler songs, just going to die out there and just be out there. But it's, again, we're taking a look at the way that the music industry is. We're taking a look at the way people are consuming music, especially over the last 5 to 10 years, and how insane streaming has become. So you're seeing so many other bands start focusing in on the singles. Of course, there are a lot of bands that are putting out albums still and put out 2 or 3 singles and then release a 12 or 13 track album. But I think about even some of the best albums that are out there, and I think about the songs that I absolutely love to listen to, and I'm like, well, if I didn't listen to the whole album, I would have never gotten to these. But maybe they're not as well known just because of the fact that, they weren't released as a single. And you see bands and they go out and play live, especially in some of these bigger venues, or they go and play festivals. They're not playing deep cuts. They're only playing deep cuts if it's going to be like a headlining show. They're not going that deep because they got to make sure that they're going to be playing what more people are going to recognize, because the more that it's recognized, the more people might come out, the more new people might get into it, and you're going to grow it from there. It sucks because it does kind of take away from those songs that are going to be released on album release day that aren't singles, but that is just the way the music industry is right now. Yeah. It's much different than it was 20 years ago. It's much different than it was back in the 1960s. It's going to be much different in 10 years than it is today. It's much different now than it is in 2015.
Yep. It's also, that's what I really like about our position at the moment as a band, because when we played these Amity gigs in summer, I mean, we're such a small band. Nobody really cared. I mean, it was absolutely insane. Playing these big crowds was really cool. And of course, people were digging this stuff. But we played a bunch of new songs from Headway. Pretty much, I think, every song from Headway except like 2. And we were like, yeah, we don't care if they're released or not. We can just play them. People are not going to know our songs anyway. So we don't have to play all these singles from JULI or whatever, or previous album. We can just do whatever, whatever we like in the set. So we did. We played a bunch of Headway songs that weren't even released yet.
That's a really cool idea, though. And that's a great way for other bands to maybe look at the opening spot, especially on a larger tour. Because I think about bands that I've seen on opening slots too, there are going to be people that don't really know your music, especially if it's something that's brand new. Yeah. So why not take that opportunity to see what happens with the new music, but also maybe there's a song in there that you really like to play and you think you can really pull a lot of energy out. But yeah, maybe it was on an album and it didn't do so well beforehand. Well, let's give it the shot. Let's give it a chance now to see if this is actually going to work, because all of a sudden, what happens if there's a song on JULI that absolutely got the crowd moving, engaged more than anything else, and it was so far down the list that you never thought about it? You had the opportunity to try it out, and then word gets around that this song absolutely smacks, and you want to go see this band live. I mean, that's what happened when I first found about the band here in the United States called Avoid. Had him on the podcast, got to see him play live. I was one of like 5 people in the crowd that knew the band beforehand or knew what they were going to sound like. So they went on their opening slot and they played whatever the heck they felt like. First song, I was like, me and like 4 other people knew what was going on. By the end of the set, everyone was into it, because why not? Give it a shot. Give something a shot. You have the opportunity. It's kind of the beautiful thing about it. But if you ever went on a headlining tour too, you would have to potentially pull out some of those singles continuously, but also you have more time to be able to throw one of those 1 or 2 or 3 deep cuts in there that you want to try out, because people are invested in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're far away from headlining. I mean, we headline like small concerts, but we hate it, because playing like an hour it's just exhausting. I love this half an hour set. It's just great. It's done. And you got the energy going. It's just great.
So it kind of sounds like a hardcore style headliner. We're going to play 30 minutes because all our songs are a minute long and we're just going to go nuts. But you're making the most out of that time.
I mean, have you checked out how long Headway actually is? I think it's about half an hour. I mean, it's 9 songs obviously, but they're all short.
Yeah, I think it's actually less than a half hour because it was most of the songs were around that they're around that 3-minute mark, and there were 2 that were around like 3:16, 3:17, but you had like 2 on there that were like 2 minutes and 7 seconds or 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah. So this is insane.
Yeah, so
we could play the whole album in our opening slots.
You could, but it would be get up there, start playing, and never take a break until the end, and then say bye, and everyone be like, "Did they even say what their name was? Who were they?"
That's basically what our set looks like at the moment. I mean, we have like 2 or 3 small breaks where we can throw in a few sentences about us, but that's it. It's tight, but it's great.
I mean, maybe have a one little larger break where Henry can do some dancing up on stage, get the crowd going.
Yeah, he gets like 1 or 2 where he can say, where he can do a few things.
he gets 1 or 2 of those getting jiggy with it moments.
Absolutely. Gotta help out.
Well, so this is gonna be a question that I feel like is gonna be a little bit less of a bombastic question than I'm used to when I ask this, just because of how many singles are out there. And at the time of we're recording this, there are still 3 songs left to release off of Headway.
Yeah.
So, Mattie, out of those 3 songs that are still yet to release, which one are you most excited for people to hear and why?
It's 3 songs. I think it's True Colors, it's Walls, and Fight.
Yep, it's those 3.
So from my perspective, when I was writing them, I think True Colors would be the one that people most connect with, but it's the first song I wrote for Headway for the whole album, and I feel like it's okay, but I have done better. And I remember when I was writing Fight, I was really, really digging it. It sounded like super big. And I thought, like, yeah, this is gonna be a great song. Now it's not even a single; it's just like one of the dead end songs. But I still think I would be digging it most if people like fight or give some comments about that song, because I think out of the 3, that's my fave.
Well, so you're going to definitely give Fight the endorsement of check this one out on album release day for the new ones. I'm going to go in a different direction, not because it also potentially might give it a little bit of like a, hey, definitely go check this one out. It's not one of the singles, but hey, let's actually amplify another song too, because out of the 3, I end up liking and really getting behind Walls more out of the 3. So I'm more excited to see what people are going to say about that one and comments about that one compared to Fight. But you know what? That's just different preference, and that's the beauty of it, because
absolutely.
Because now it's like people are like, hey, I want to go check out Fight because that's what Mattie likes. All of a sudden it's like, well, but this guy over here said it was Walls. So which one is it? Which one's gonna work? That you got to check. Then have people check out both of them, and they're like, okay, now I'll check out True Colors so I can see if they were both wrong, and then we sort of get people into all 3 songs just like that. Oh my God, look at that. Look at what we just did.
I didn't think you would go for the softest songs.
Me
I
either.
think Walls is, right? Walls is pretty much the, softest
Walls was the softest song, and it was definitely something I was not expecting to be like, especially for my taste, to really get into. Yeah. But it was just the idea behind it, the mindset they created, because in a way, we were talking earlier about, having more of that, wanting to maybe see some more of that positive side in there. But if you're not seeing that positive side in there, you're not feeling it, you're not going to write about it because it's not genuine. This one actually had that positive overall emotive feel and that positive mindset going through it. So it was, to me, I thought of it like, even though it was definitely softer, it felt like you were punching up to get to success. Like you're punching up for success, but not losing out on what made that build to that point so good. So it kind of had that reflective tone to it, but a reflective positive tone. And as a difference point on the album, it definitely showed to be something I wasn't expecting to be my favorite or one of the things I was more excited for people to listen to. But that definitely was the one that took me by surprise. And that's the beauty of music. You never know what's going to surprise.
Absolutely. I gotta say, I I love the message of war, so I definitely agree on that.
So yeah,
me-
people can go check that one out too and be like, oh god, this is gonna be different. What is this gonna be about? Oh my god, I'm starting to feel
Blacktoothed did it again. Yeah,
Blacktoothed did it again. They got me in the heart.
Put in a soft song in between these breakdowns.
Well, I still remember there was like the one of my favorite memes of all time. It was like something that Tom Kiley from Page 67 put it together. It's like metalcore albums, tracks 1 through 9 is just a picture of SpongeBob screaming his ass off, and then track 10 is just SpongeBob crying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That works pretty well in Headway.
It's like you're gonna get yep, it's works for Headway too. It's tracks 1 through 6 and 8 9. Track 9 just or track 7 just oh.
Yeah, we gotta put like some song that is close to power ballad. I mean, we have that 80s vibe going on, like me and Henny always had. So I think that's probably the one thing you can count on a Blacktoothed record is that there's gonna be one song that is gonna be soft or like 80s vibe, guitars, whatever.
Yeah, but it absolutely fits, and I'm glad we got to shine some light on that song too. So yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, Mattie, one more question before I ask the final question. And because, again, album's coming out on January 24th, 2025. What else are we going to expect from Blacktoothed going throughout 2025?
Yeah, so obviously we wanted to have like a release show, and we're going to have that sometime in April, I guess, but only hometown stuff. Because for the second half of the year, we are currently planning on a tour, or like we're actually hopping on a tour through Europe. So that's kind of the next big thing that we have to work through. And well, I bet or I hope that we're gonna go into the studio again to record some more.
Well, you're still writing stuff, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be some studio time in there to record at this point in 2025. There's by the time if we've talked at the same time next year, we'd probably be thinking, okay, there's probably like 30 or 40 songs that you've already written in full that are just waiting to be recorded.
Yep. It's always going to be like that, yeah.
It's always going to be like that. There is no stopping you. But Mattie, as we're getting ready to bring this podcast to conclusion, I have one more question I want to ask you. I've been asked this for bands for a little over a year at the end of every episode. It's something I love to do to not only find out about more new music and get everybody else to love more new music, but as a way for us to find out the stuff that you love and to get behind it as well. So I'm going to ask for 3 of these. Can you name me 3 bands or artists that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
This is tough because I... at the moment, I'm listening to lots of stuff that's already very big. So, for smaller artists, I guess, the feature part on our song Hell's Paradise is with a friend of ours, or like, we are friends of the band. It's called Bite. If you're into Kublai Khan or whatever heavy music, it slaps. They just released an EP. It's definitely worth looking into. So yeah. Just go look for Bite and get some heavy stuff going. On the other hand, let me check my Spotify. What am I listening to? Real quick, because I can't think of the top of my head. It's just always like put something on and then go from there.
I'll say understandable. Don't worry, Mattie. The amount of people ask this question, they're like, "Give me a second. I have to take a look at what I'm actually listening to right now."
Yeah,
it's about half and half.
I gotta say, I love Rivals, the band, because it's such a diverse sound as well. I feel like I really connect with these people because we're kind of the same. Like, not really. I don't know if there's a genre that you could define that to, but probably tough. So that. Also, third band. Yeah, it's all big. It's all big. I mean, I'm listening to stuff like Stand Atlantic or Paris or Point North or something. So I mean, obviously more people could get into that, but I think they already do it pretty well. Probably if you're into some emo music, my husband has another band. It's called Chiefland. They just did their first DIY tour. They were already touring with Acres or something. It's really good emo stuff. If you like bands like Acres, like earlier Acres stuff, or let's say Basement or just all the emo stuff.
Yeah.
If you wanna really dig into your feels, go check out Cheapland. Yeah.
So
That's where I think it takes.
I'd say those are 3 perfect ones. Someone that you worked with, especially on Headway, give them a shout out. Someone that you just enjoy listening to, and it's like, well, my husband's in another band, let's shout that out. There's plenty of times where it's like, hey, this person's another band, or this person is also doing this. Give that a shout out as well, because especially if we're talking about it during the episode, or we talk about that person during the episode, let's give them a shout out. Let's get them more known. Let's help them out too. Why not?
They're also like very professional. I always like feel like we can learn from them actually what it means to be smaller artists, because they're just insanely well organized and everything. So gotta give some credit to that. Check them out.
Give credit where credit is due. Well, Mattie, I want to thank you for taking the time once again for joining us on the Chord Progression Podcast. I'm going to end this episode with 3 things. So first things first, everybody, Headway by Blacktoothed is coming out on January 24th, 2025. And if you're in Europe, they're going to end up going on tour at some point later in the year. You're going to want to be ready for it, or you just want to get to know about what's going on with them and get to follow them along and know more of their new music, because Mattie's always writing something, so you never know what's going to happen. You never know they're going to record something. You never know when it's going to drop. So go script from the podcast where it says Find Blacktoothed online. Links and labels for everything are going to be down there for social media, YouTube, website, where you can find some merch, where you can get tickets for shows, and where you can not only pre-order the album or pre-save the album, but also stream it upon release as well. So go check it out. It's all down there for you. And Mattie, number 2 is the last Mattie of the podcast with Henrik. I made you both a promise as when I get to see you perform live for the first time, I will find you. And my promise was first round's on me. Well,
right.
It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard when there's a huge thing called the Atlantic Ocean still separating us, and I haven't been back over to Europe in 3 years. So I'm going to not say that the promise is first round's on me for you specifically. Now it's first 2.
Got it. That's good. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me on the podcast again.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah, I love to chat. I'll chat about random stuff, so that's always like a plus.
Yeah, because it's going to be about music. It's going to be about some kind of concept, but how we got there and where it's going to go, who knows? That's the beauty of it.
Absolutely. And now I love that you dig walls. You're the first person I think I met that's like, that song slaps.
Yay!
Yay.
I'm like, I had to look through my notes. I'm like, which one did I like more of the 3? Because I'm like, I just couldn't remember right off the top. I'm like, okay, True Colors, Fight,
yeah, I mean,
Walls.
I can't remember all the songs that are on this record, and it's only 9, so I feel that.
Hey, when there's so much other music that we're listening to at the same time too, it's just like, okay, good thing I wrote this stuff down so I didn't forget.
Absolutely. I should write that stuff down when it's on the album.
And now it's time for number 3, Mattie. As we bring this to conclusion, I cannot end this podcast by saying goodbye. That is way too final. I made you a promise, and I added on to that promise now, so I still have to make good on that. Plus, this is your second time on the podcast. I don't plan on stopping doing this. It doesn't seem like you're planning on stopping with Blacktoothed or doing anything with music, so I know we're going to end up doing this again and have another great conversation down the line. So, Mattie, This is not goodbye. This is I'll see you later.
See you later.
Well, folks, my interview with Mattie from the band Blacktoothed, and now it's time for Kevin's final thought. And I'm going to go on the whole entire singles debate that we were going into and why Mattie and I agreed on it, but also why I thought it was important to talk about. And we take a look at it. We dive deep into it. I've seen so many times rock and metal fans are always complaining, why you release so many singles? Why is it the album comes out, there's only a couple of songs left? And I think that, the more we actually ask these questions, but when we talk to artists and figure out why they're doing these things and actually get the answer instead of just complaining about why things aren't the same anymore, we get a better understanding of the challenges that artists are facing. We get a better understanding of the way the industry is working in this day and age. And as fans, we get a better understanding of what to expect going forward. I mean, we think about Falling in Reverse with what they've done with singles. I remember Breaking Benjamin in 2018. Memphis Mayfire is probably the perfect example where their album in 2022 and their upcoming album in 2025, the amount of songs that have been released as singles continue to get put forward. Also, think about different genres as well. Think about hip hop and rap. Think about country. They're putting out more and more singles continuously, especially the hip hop and rap genres, because they know that's what needs to be done. No one's releasing full albums like crazy anymore because it's just not viable. If you're going to release a full album, now you have, let's say, you use Blacktoothed as an example. They have 9 songs on this album. What happens if they release one single and then the album? Now, 8 songs come out all at once, which maybe for some of the fans you might like, but when it comes to getting the band continued notice, now all those 8 songs are going to go on certain playlists. They're going to end up going in certain places, promoted, but after that month is over, they're kind of old news at that point, so the cycle resets, and you can't just throw those songs in there unless one truly hits again. Beyond that, now you're giving all these different songs a chance to continue to hit. You're getting more people a chance to continue to check out your band, but at the same time, anybody that's returning, it's like opening a gift on Christmas every month, every 2 months. You have a brand new song to go check out, so why not give it a shot if that's the way music is being consumed? If the primary number of people that love music, consume music, are going to start going through it in an album way, in that collection, then we're going to start to see only 1 or 2 singles before an album drops. But the way Spotify is, the way Apple Music is, the way streaming is, it's singles or bust pretty much. It's been singles or bust kind of since really we saw the focus to digital music, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. So we're going to have to get used to it, but the more we understand what bands go through, the better off we're going to be as fans to kind of reset our expectations, but also enjoy what's to come. I want to thank Mattie for being on the podcast. When it comes to Blacktoothed, please go straight to the podcast below. Everything is down there for them, so you can check out the brand new album Headway. You can pre-order it, or you can pre-save it. You can stream it if it's out. You can go check out where they're going to be playing live. You can check out their merch. You can also follow them on social media as well. Please also go to Script for the Podcast, too, to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All links are down there. Hit subscribe on YouTube right down here. Hit the follow button on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Please hit the like button as well in these episodes to make sure that these episodes keep getting pushed in the algorithm because, we got to do that, too. But I want to thank Mattie for taking the time today. I want to thank you for sticking around today, too, because this is a good one. And that's going to be me, everybody. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. That was big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!